Hi, welcome. This is Dr. John DeMartini. This is one of the most amazing and inspiring shows that you can listen into. If you want to be on the edge of your seats, if you want to open up your heart, if you want to expand your mind, and you want to meet incredible people, stay tuned because you're just about to experience a transformative radio show that will change your life. And you're listening to the Dr. Pat Show that's coming up right next.
The following audio is via a Skype call.
Welcome to the Dr. Pat Show. Talk radio to thrive by. Powerful, inspiring, and coming to you live, bringing you stories of people like you and me, busting through and living life full out. Get ready to dare to wonder what your life would be like if you knew you could not fail. Hey everyone, it's so great to be connecting with all of you. I am so thrilled to have my very special guest and colleague joining me here today, Deborah Ann Jacobs. And what I love about this show today is she gets to be in the world where she's connecting with so many people that are out there doing amazing things. And every once in a while, there comes a project across her desk or across mine. And, we decide that we all of a sudden are going to do something about it. But we're not really sure what it is about the project or why we're going to do something about it. I'm going to tell you, we're going to talk about this little book, right? And, for those of you that are watching the video on this, you're going to be able to see a video of it. But the book is called, for those of you out there, Thank Your Wicked Parents. I must say that again. Thank Your Wicked Parents, Blessings from a Difficult Childhood. Now, when I got this book, and the book is by Richard Bach, and Deborah is going to tell us all about Richard, and many of us know who he is. But when I got the book, I thought to myself, I'm not reading that. And then I opened the book up. And what happened for me was I was so amazingly surprised at what I found that it literally transformed the way I'm looking at certain things. Deborah, it's so great to have you here. Now, I mentioned that you're in front of a lot of people. You do a lot of things. But I want you to tell folks about the people you're in front of and how you got to be in front of this book.
Well, as you know, I've been a literary agent for over 10 years, and I represent all kinds of authors. I don't represent Richard Bach, but I'm working with, I wish, I've been working with his publisher with a couple other authors that they're publishing, like Lynn Andrews. And he had made a comment to me one day, didn't you tell me once you love Richard Bach? And I said, yes, I've read everything the man has ever written since Jonathan Livingston Seagull and Illusions. And everybody knows Richard Bach. He said, well, did you ever read Thank You, My Wicked Parents? And I went, no, I can't believe there's a book I missed. He said, well, let me send it to you. And so he mailed me a copy of the book, and I did sort of the same thing you did. I looked at it and went, okay, well, I didn't have wicked parents, but I don't know what this is. And so I started reading it. And I will tell you from my experience, I was so blown away. I picked up the phone, called his publisher, and said, I have to do something with this book. I have to get this book out there. People need to know about this book. And that's about the time I called you and said, hey, I got this book. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I need to tell people about it.
And, I had the same reaction you did. And, I thought about this wicked parents or wicked caretakers or whoever it is in your life that you believe has done you harm. This book is applicable to as well. And when I started to open it and read it, I was mesmerized. I don't really know of another word, to explain this.
Simple. What got me, what is it, 40 pages or something?
Teeny little book.
And it's a teeny little book, but it's the most powerful book I think I've read.
Yeah, I agree with you. Great things come in small packages. I want to read the beginning of it if I could.
Absolutely.
And it's the acknowledgement, right? It says this: to the wicked parents upon whom this house has fallen, knowing you'll find the blessing from everything that's gone to pieces. To the wicked parents upon whom this house has fallen, knowing you'll find the blessing from everything that's gone to pieces. That is so deep and profound. It took me 2 weeks just to get past that.
Did you get a chance to read the quote that Richard had sent me? I had emailed him and said, I want to do something with this book. And
tell us.
And I had sent you the quote, and I actually don't have it in front of me at the moment.
Yeah, I have it.
But I'll let you read that.
I'll read it. And it's, yeah, what it says is little thank your wicked parents has a quiet life, but now it may dance for a while with you. Do you know any lonely children for this book to meet on the dance floor? Its pages become their quiet partner, whispering just what they need to know.
This is why I mean, this was just an email he sent. The way this man writes just always has blown me away completely. And he you know, I wanted his involvement in some way for me to do this. And he is on deadline for another book, so he couldn't do interviews with me. But for him to express his appreciation in those kind of words, it was just, I was almost looking for a way to get out of what I had told people I wanted to start, because I you know, it's like, I want to get this book out to the world. Okay, how do I do that? I need help. I need partners. And I didn't have the foggiest. So, you know, when he wrote that to me, I went, okay, now I really have to do this. And the publisher, who has been just absolutely amazing, Bob Friedman, is just an incredible person. And instead of looking to, okay, how much money can we make?
Right.
By the way, I get nothing from this at all.
Yeah, and I'm getting nothing, by the way, from doing this. And the video you're watching, that's not why Deborah and I are here.
No.
You know, we really are here to get this in the hands of people.
And so I wrote him and said, I just want to mail this to everybody who I think could benefit from it. And he sent me cases of books. And over the last month, I have mailed out copies to all of the children's advocacy centers all over the U.S., child abuse centers, foster parenting programs. Because I'll tell you what triggered me with this book to begin with. I was a foster parent. And if I had had this golden nugget that, you know, it's like, I don't know if you can see this, but the little book is just sayings and pictures. And it's things like, thank you for hurting my feelings. So I found it is not I and not you who control them. I mean, something that you can hand a child or an adult that's been in any kind of abuse situation from their parents, a book that can, as the head of the foster parent program emailed me back from Northern Arizona, and she said, this book, I believe, if given to teens that have been in the foster parent program, it will enable them to see they do not have to be defined by their abuse.
Yeah.
And I think that's what got you about it too.
It did. And I think what hooked me too is when I started to read the foreword. And I started to read the foreword, and the foreword says, aren't you the adventurer, dear reader, to open this book, no matter what the title says, look out. I'm like, okay, I love an adventure. Now you got me. Yeah. And I started to read it. And it says, the reason you've done this mad thing is that it's time to remember that there's no such thing as a disaster which doesn't have a blessing right close alongside.
And it just shows that this book is just as important to parents than in that situation. And maybe like when I was in a foster parent, a lot of the children we got were from drug abuse situations.
Oh, yeah.
And abandonment.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of those parents go out, they clean themselves up, and then they reconnect and they're put back together with their family. And they're at as much a loss as the children are as to how to fix this damage.
Right.
I think this book can benefit them. They can look at this and the two heal.
Yeah.
And, there are so many adults that I've given this book to that said, if I had had something like that when I was in my teens, I would not have made all the dreadful decisions I made and then had to start growing and learning when I was in my 40s and 50s.
There's no question about it. The other thing that we'll talk about throughout the show, too, is this idea of now that we have this. My friend Dr. Dan Cohen has created this incredible Soul Tech Lounge. It is the scientifically proven way to quiet the mind. But one of the things that we also need is tools on, if we're quieting the mind, how do we heal ourselves? And why is healing ourselves in today's world probably one of the most important things? You want to know why? Because we're looking at the medical profession and we're looking at the rise in illness. And we really want to go and point to opiate abuse rather than say, wait a minute, we got a bunch of people in pain. And maybe do you think we're not quite getting at the core issue of where their pain's coming from? But this book helps us through that. Let's take a short break. When we come back, we'll be talking with Deborah about the book. I'm hoping we got a couple copies to give away, but here's what it says. Even when we've been helpless children at the mercy of parents who haven't a trace of caring for us, who lash us over and again with abuse and humiliation, they're lashing us with lessons they don't imagine. When we come back, we'll talk more about this and what this book is really about. Stay tuned, everyone. We'll be right back.
Transformation Talk Radio is dedicated to the education and awareness of Lyme disease.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Lyme Talk Radio. I'm Dr. Pat, joined here by
Dr. Nusheen Darvish.
Dr. Pat Basili and Dr. Nusheen Darvish will be bringing the most innovative, groundbreaking information, research, treatment innovations, and stories from those it affects every day.
I'm so excited to be talking about this.
We have so much to share.
Dr. Darvish and I are planning to do is connect the dots.
People suffering with all sorts of chronic diseases, it's time. It is time for them to transform.
Tune into Lyme Talk Radio and help keep our mission strong.
For the loyal listeners out there that have been listening to this incredible show on Lyme disease, we are not going to let you down. We're going to come through stronger and enrich the platform for Lyme disease awareness through Lyme Talk Radio. The message will continue, the conversations will become stronger, and the healing epic.
What if your body and mind were the compasses to the secrets, mysteries, and magic of life? Glenna Rice, co-host of The Questionable Parent, is inviting you to access all that is possible. Glenna is a 10-year certified veteran access consciousness facilitator who offers an amazing variety of life-changing classes and workshops. Work with Glenna from anywhere with teleclasses and workshops all over the globe. To learn more and see Glenna's current schedule of events, classes, and workshops, visit glennarice.com.
There are so many resources out there for meditation. But did you know that Atana's Heart Earth Healing Meditation is available for you for free? Yes, that's right. You can receive this free healing meditation today from Atana Badili. All you need to do is visit his website, atanamethod.com. That's ATAANA method.com and sign up. You will receive your free meditation instantly. That's atanamethod.com.
Hey everyone, meet my friends at the maca team. The ancient Inca root vegetable maca is known worldwide for its huge array of health benefits. As a family-run company of true maca specialists, the maca team is here to bring you the best maca the Peruvian mountains has to offer. Yellow maca, used to promote endurance, vitality, fertility, hormone health, and much more, is on sale now. I love it. Visit themacateam.com to order yours now. themacateam.com.
Almost everyone at some time in their lives ask themselves, what am I? Most of our questions are ego-generated and simply don't address the problem of our false self. It's time to relax your ego and embody your soul. Dr. Dan Cohen, neurologist, inventor, and author, has created tools to awaken a new way to transform from who you thought you were into what you truly are. Visit toolstoawaken.com today.
Are you into it? For the month of April, take a picture in your Intuit apparel and post it on Facebook for all to see and receive a reading from Lynn Brown on your Facebook page of your prominent aura color and what it means for you. Make sure you tag Lynn Brown or the Are You Into It Facebook page with your photo so Lynn can find you. Visit intuitapparel.com today and wear your intuition with pride.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Dr. Pat Show, Transformation Talk Radio, transformationradio.fm. You know, when Deborah sent us the book that we're referring to by Richard Bach, Thank Your Wicked Parents, Blessings from a Difficult Childhood, there were parts of this that I immediately grabbed onto, only because I've been able to look back at my own life and see the blessings in some of the things that I thought were just absolutely horrible in my mom's life, my stepmom's life, my dad, all of that, the whole journey, right? But, you know, I think when you get to be as old as Deborah and I are, you know, there's some things that you pick up, especially if you're listening to a show like this, right? So anybody that's listening to a show like this book is for you. Whether you think you have these parents or you think you are these parents. You know, the feedback I'm getting, Deborah, is that this book is really, really helpful for people that are the parents now, right? But they don't know how to work with the book. So I want to ask you, how can folks get a hold of you and get copies of the book? And we're going to give away a couple of copies. And how do you think it's going to change lives?
Well, first off, this book is available at any bookstore and Amazon, Barnes & Noble online. It's available just like any other book would be. If somebody is interested in buying bulk copies, like for an organization or something, a group, they can either contact me at my email address, or which I guess you'll have on the website or something.
Yeah.
Because if I say it, everybody will spell my first name wrong, probably.
No, we're going to, you know, as this video is being made, I mean, we're giving people lots of information.
Okay. It's Deborah at dancingwordgroup.com, or they can contact the publisher directly. The publisher is so generous that for people.
Yeah, that's Rainbow Ridge Books is actually who has put this out. It's distributed by Square One Publishers.
Yeah, and they have to go through Rainbow Ridge Books, which is Bob Friedman, or getting the 50% off retail price discount if they're buying more than like 10 or more for an organization.
Yeah, but, like if you're listening to this show and you're thinking, you know, I'm a member of CODA or I'm a member of, you know, ACOA, then you're probably thinking, how do I get the book? Who can I talk to, right? You're thinking about that right now. Or you're part of some other recovery program, or who knows why you're listening to the show. And you're thinking, even if it's not you, it's a friend of yours, boom. We want to do this. And let's do this right now. I'd love to give a copy of the book away as you and I continue to talk about it. Mr. Benny, first copy of the book, first caller, 1-800-930-2819. And by the way, we are taking your questions and call. Okay, absolutely. Deborah, how is this going to change lives?
It's going to change lives because it is so simply written and so beautifully written that this is my golden nugget of it. It takes every situation of abuse, from something as simple as verbal abuse that you may not have recognized. I did not recognize until I read this book that, oh my gosh, my father really did verbally abuse me. And I could take one of these little tiny sayings that's like 3 sentences long and change the complete vision of, instead of hurt or anger or pain from something he may have said to me when I was young, to, oh, I feel so good about myself and I worked so well with myself because of that. Instead of it being, and this will sound bad, but you know, I'm also a psychic. I'm a psychic on Shirley McKine's site, and I do a lot of readings with a lot of clients. And the majority of them have this deep pain from some sort of abuse, physical abuse, verbal abuse, abandonment. And I'm looking at this book like, oh, I should just give everybody a copy of this and then wait 6 months for them to see if they really need a reading. Because this book heals you. It totally shifts your perspective.
Yeah.
And as a counselor in my own way, I get so tired of the excuses. And what I realized is people aren't making excuses. People just aren't acknowledging that either they caused abuse or had abuse. And this little book, I mean, you could open it, literally, you don't have to read this book through. What I find is I just open it to a page, and like everything else that Richard Bach writes, whatever is on that page is what you need. And it's a golden nugget. It's one of those rarities that you just don't see every day.
Yeah. You know, he goes on to say this. I left everybody dangling right there. He says, who decides our disasters a blessing? We do. Who proves that true? Us. It's never been so. We can let injustice destroy us, become victims of our test, or we can determine not to let that happen. Ever. He goes on to say, how can we do such a thing? Simple. And just this side of impossible. We follow the example of children who've done it before us. That is, this is a quote, we live prayers of stubborn, defiant gratitude, unending prayer in action till disaster's a memory. Boom. And he goes on to say, sometimes our gratitudes are hissed through clenched teeth. I don't know about you, but I know mine have been. Sometimes a curse or two added to make a smile at our courage. Yeah. My dad was a truck driver. I curse. But prayers they be, not fright. And that's not a stereotype of truck drivers. I'm just talking about my dad right there for everybody out there. So please don't email me about the truck drivers. I'm just talking about my dad and my entire family who owned a trucking company. So here are a few children's prayers of gratitude. And he goes on, he talks about them. But the thing I want to point to is this page. I don't know if we could see it on the camera. I know that we'll have pictures of these put up. When I opened to this picture, I was hooked. I was totally hooked. I looked at that picture, Deborah, and I cried.
Yeah.
I knew that he had me right here.
Yeah.
Who doesn't relate to either being that child or that mom, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who doesn't relate?
You know, that's really the beauty of this, Pat, is that even if you haven't been a victim of some kind of abuse, I gave this to my granddaughter, and my granddaughter read it, and what she walked away from it with was giving me a big hug and thanking me for her mom and I not being that kind of parent.
Yeah.
And she said, you know, when we had foster kids, I wish they would have had this book.
Yeah, I got a request. Maybe you can send this request back to Richard. I got a request. I gave it to a book. I gave it to somebody, and they say, is Richard going to write a book, Thank Your Wicked Boss? And I said, why? He says, are you kidding? I mean, everything about bosses right now and workplace bullying. Is he going to write a book, Thank Your Wicked Boss and Your Wicked Coworkers? And I thought, I don't know, but I'm going to tell you, Deborah, if he doesn't do it, now that we're talking about this on air, somebody's going to do it. Because one of the highest degrees of abuse and bullying we have right now that is not being talked about is in the workplace.
Well, and I think you could actually use the same book.
You can.
Way. I mean, I will let Richard know that.
I'll help him write it.
I think it's exactly the same. Anybody who, and it's funny that you bring up the bosses, and I got to tell you something. I worked for a mental health state agency years ago when I had gone back to school and got my degrees to be a counselor. And I actually, that job, because they wouldn't allow me to bring material like this in, it was almost like they wanted to keep people ill, to keep them on the rolls. And that was my assessment of it after being there a year and ending up in the hospital almost dead with Crohn's disease from the stress. And I will tell you my shift that I tell every single person I get in contact with: when you have an issue with a boss and you either get fired, or like in my case, I got out of the hospital, went directly to the office and quit my job. And
Me too.
And I thanked her. You know, she may have been evil to me, but if she had not have been evil, I would not have left that job and found my life. I mean, I quit that job and I started Mystic Pop Magazine, which you remember very well. And for 9 years, lived this incredible life that I would not have had if I had taken the attitude that a lot of people do of, oh, well, but it's my boss and I just need to do my job and I need to have that paycheck. I understood that this was making me ill and the universe was trying to get me to leave it, and I wasn't paying attention. So the universe hospitalized me and I almost died. It's like, you don't have to have that kind of kick in the butt. You can simply go, wow, if I'm really unhappy and uncomfortable in this job, maybe I shouldn't be in this job. And you get this book and you read some of the things about the verbal abuse.
Yeah. And, you know, we're going to go to a short break. First book is gone, by the way. And when we come back, we'll give another copy of the book away. But I want to read a couple of these, if you don't mind. You need to call Richard right away because, you know, I'm burning up over here with the messages about the boss thing. I'm sorry. Right. So after we're done here, get on the phone, okay? Do you mind?
I will, absolutely.
And here we go. Here, right out of the book, you guys. Thank you for this is so hard. Thank you for pulling me down and giving me reason to fly. Thank you for discounting my pain so that I could learn to let it go. Now, Linda, if you're listening, I think you should call in about the boss thing. And anybody on my team wants to call in. And Justin, I know you're recording this right now, so you could chime in about the boss thing if you guys want. But the thing I love about this is that when we're talking about this, Deborah, this is about healing. And thank you is powerful. Mm-hmm. I'm going to share a quote towards the end of the book at the end of this. But right now, let's go to break. When we come back, we're going to talk about, how about you out there? Do you have something that you would like us to help you? Pull a prayer from here for you and get you a place where we can read it right out of the book. I'll do my best to get to it. I've read the book 5 times, but I will get right to it and see if we can get a thank you prayer for you. 1-800-930-2819. Hey, everybody, we'll be right back.
We clawed, we chained our hearts in vain. We jumped, never asking why. We kissed, I fell under your spell.
Artie Hoffman is the hottest psychic with the warmest heart and the host of the hit show Angels and Answers. A renowned psychic, medium, spiritual life coach, and an entertaining motivational speaker, Artie has helped over 15,000 people with his amazing intuitive gifts, his passion, and his humor. Call 877-ANGEL-02 to schedule a personal reading or to have your own psychic Artie party. That's 877-ANGEL-02. And visit artiehoffman.com and Angels and Answers on Facebook.
Tune in to Lucid Planet Radio with Dr. Kelly Neff. This hit show will illuminate your senses and empower you beyond your daily stressors and hardships. Renowned psychologist and author Dr. Kelly will captivate you with far-reaching topics and amazing guests as you wake to the greatest version of yourself. Learn to tap into your intuitions, think critically about our world, heal emotional and psychological wounds, and follow your passions to live your dreams. The Lucid Planet. Welcome home. Visit lucidplanetradio.com for more information.
Song of the Heart, Walking the Path of Light, from author and healer Francine Vale is available now. Through Francine's life story, we learn how imperative it is to love one another. Once this simple truth is learned, peace on earth will prevail. Song of the Heart is a life lived and a story told for this purpose. To learn more about Francine and her amazing gifts, or to order your copy of the book today, visit angelsandlightbeings.com.
The doctor is in. Tune in to the hit show, The Psychic Love Doctor, with host Deborah Lee. Deborah's life-affirming, highly perceptive reading method has taught Deborah how to zero in on specific problems with relationships, career pursuits, and current roadblocks to success and happiness. Join Deborah Fridays at 2 p.m. Pacific, and for a special broadcast the second Thursday of every month at 11 a.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
Hi, this is Leslie Fontaine, and my show is Sheer Alchemy on TransformationTalkRadio.com. When we're bogged down with our emotions, the hardships that plague us in our relationships, at work, our finances, we literally can't see the higher plane where we could be operating from. Tune in to Leslie Fontaine, Sheer Alchemy on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
Called the Oprah of radio by her listeners, award-winning host Dr. Pat Baccili is blowing the doors off of traditional talk radio. Get ready for an energizing delivery and powerful interviews with leaders in the field of human potential. Dr. Pat's fresh, new perspective on living life full out has catapulted her show to the top of talk radio. Tune in and Dr. Pat will help you thrive instead of merely survive. Visit thedrpatshow.com. That's THEDRPatshow.com for listening times in your area.
All the leaves on the giving tree have fallen, no shade to crawling underneath.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Deborah Ann Jacobs and myself, I'm Dr. Pat and the host of the Dr. Pat Show. And of course, Transformation Talk Radio and TransformationRadio.fm. You know, every once in a while, I kind of get this hit about some way that we can pay things forward. And you guys that have been listening from day one, you know that I am the queen of pay it forward. From day one, we have never asked a guest to be on the show that wasn't going to give away a book. That's just never been in our consciousness. And you could ask Linda. If Linda asked the publicist or the publisher, are you going to give a book away? And they say, no, we're not going to do it. Well, they never really make it on the show. But that's not Deborah. Her people make it on the show, and they are super generous. That's why right now we want to give away another copy, Benny, of the book. And please, you can give Benny questions. He'll write them down, or you can type them in at Transformation Talk Radio Dr. Pat Show. But if you really want to come on and you want to find out maybe there's a prayer in here for you, we're going to get it to you. But right now, 1-800-930-2819. And if you do get a copy of the book, think about paying it forward. And Deborah is going to tell you about that. Deborah, we're talking about this book, and let's just stop for a minute. It's not just a book that has a bunch of words in it. I alluded to the fact that the pictures in here are profoundly touching. And I don't know the publisher. I mean, this has got to be a publisher's deal, right? When they lay these books out and they put these pictures in, right?
Yeah,
they do.
Okay. Get approval and everything.
So listen to this. I'm telling you, Linda and I were like crying. And Linda says, how come you got a copy of the book and I didn't? I said, okay, call into the show, we give you a book. So I turned to this one, which has a picture. I would like to show the picture, right? Can you guys see that? All right. And we'll have this picture up in the video. And it says this. Are you ready? I cried. Thank you for not believing in me so that I could begin believing in myself. What?
That's the one that got me.
Oh, my gosh.
That's
and look at the kid riding away on the bike with his back, right?
And let me tell you the power of this, because when I first got this book, I thought, well, this isn't going to mean anything to me because I wasn't an abused child. And when I read that, I cried. I grew up the only girl, youngest child in a very strict Jewish family. And I was considered, you don't need to go to school. You don't need to go to college. You're going to marry. That's the only thing you're supposed to do.
I got that too.
And when I read that, I just burst out into tears because exactly what it said, because of how they treated me that way, I imagined this whole greater amazing life for myself. I probably wouldn't have done that if I had just grown up and gone to college and, set out to have a career. It wouldn't have been the it makes me want to cry now.
I know it. I have to tell you, for me, I decided the homeless route. I mean, think about how compelling that conversation must have been from somebody like me that absolutely refused any of that dialogue. And my only point of recourse was coming home one day and finding all my belongings on the front yard, because I just could not do those things. I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know what I was going to become. I didn't know how I was going to get the heck to be here at all. I knew, though, in that moment, nope, that was not going to be me. I just watched my sisters get out into the world and get married, get some young babies, and out there they were. And, for me, it's like, no, I guess I'll choose homeless. Who does that?
Yeah. Well, but a lot of people do. And that, again, is the gift of this. I would much rather carry a case of these in my car, and every time somebody's standing there holding out their hand needing money, give them a copy of this book.
Oh, I know how to do the money thing. I mean, can you imagine me? Like, I lived in New Jersey at the time, but what I would do, I'm so excited, I'm knocking my microphone around here. Justin, it's okay. Benny, it's okay. But can you imagine me? I was in New Jersey, and I was talking to Linda about this. She said, well, wait a minute. Why did you go to Port Authority to collect money if you were homeless in New Jersey? And I thought, I don't remember why I did that. Oh, now I remember. Because I remember people at the Port Authority could stand there and get money. You can't stand outside of, a department store and ask people for money in New Jersey. But you could go to New York at the Port Authority with all these people coming off, and you could be like, I need to get home. Give me some money.
I went that route at one point in my life. I was actually homeless when I was a single mother. And my father always did you created the bed, you lay in it.
My mother. Make your bed, you sleep in it.
So I had the other concept, like what you just read in this book, of, well, no, I don't have to lay in an uncomfortable bed. What do I need to do? Oh, I need to find somebody who needs somebody to house sit. I need to do this. I need to do that. And it was like, those spring ups where you're laying on your back and you spring onto your feet? I learned to do that from the time I was 17 on, because I could imagine. And it was almost there holding me down. I mean, I didn't have this book then.
No.
But I followed this book then.
Exactly. So here's one I want to throw out at you. Now, I want to tell you, this one I'm gonna put out there. This is why I believe there are other books that have to be written. And I read this one, and it wasn't just about my parents, right?
Right.
It was about, I got a hit on my ex. This related to my ex. And it was like, why did I stay in that relationship for 14 years? What the heck was I thinking? So here it is. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for trying to crush my dreams and smother my hopes, to show me it's not your belief that makes them real, but mine.
Doesn't it? It makes me choke up.
Oh my gosh.
I too have 2 exes like that. That's why I've been single for over 30 years. This book, I was teasing the publisher one day that you could take the title off of this book completely and just say thank you, because this applies to everything.
But I think he's got a couple more books. Now, here's what I want to say about exes. For those of you out there right now, I'm not an ex basher. I have 2 exes that I talk about in my life. One of them I rarely talk about, and you just heard me talk about it right there, only because that was a really tough one for me, because what you're hearing all the time is how great you are, how great you are, how great you are, but you're never really enough. Now, I'm going to stop for a minute and talk about my other ex. To this day, absolutely the best person in my life, the best, could write this thank you book, because why? There are ways that people get to show up in our lives, and to this day supports every dream, every whack job idea I've got, every part of who I am, all of my bugs, my whistles, my anger. And we get on the phone and I'm like, I got to rant and rave, dude. Right now, we're going to rant and rave. And that's our thing. We do R&R. So this is not about all X's and all bosses. It's not. It's about figuring out where your pain is and healing it, right?
And well, it's almost more than healing, because
it is more than healing.
In healing, it like Archangel Michael will say, when you try to heal something, you have to wait. It takes time and everything to heal, right? But when you shift, it's instant. So, like you were talking earlier about the thank you, and and us being able to thank people. One of the things that we didn't bring up, and I wanted to bring up because it brought it up for me with this book, is you can thank people after they've passed away.
Totally.
Both of my parents.
Totally.
Right. And
my sister.
I read that, what you had just read, and I went, thank you. And it shifts. So there is no healing. It's like the pain just goes, poof.
It goes away. Now, this is going to be a tough one, but I had to read it. And I think, Benny, what we'll probably do is skip the break and let's give another copy of the book away. 1-800-930-2819. It's not just what's said here, Deborah, but it's the picture. And for those of you, I'm holding up the book, but Justin's probably going to replace what I'm doing with a super image. It's a picture of what looks like a boy, but you never know, standing on the edge of a cliff by himself or herself. And here's what it says. Thank you for hating me so that I could love who I am and who I'm yet to be. Where does Richard come up with this stuff?
It's amazing. It's amazing. It just...
Does that make you cry?
Yeah.
Right there?
Yeah.
And see, this is one of these things that we hate to admit. We hate to admit that maybe we were in situations. I was in a Catholic boarding school when I was 6, and I tell you, I was pretty much beat every night because I was a young, spirited child at 6 years old in a Catholic boarding school who really didn't belong there.
Right.
And, what level of hate has to emerge in somebody's heart to really bring forth that level of injury? But it's happening all the time, Deborah. But this is a way to move that along.
It really isn't a level of hate in all cases either. When you're very young, somebody could say something to you as a young child that they totally didn't even mean the way you take it. And for the rest of your life, you're holding on to that. And this book, I think the other thing about this book that I love is I'm not a joiner. I'm not a go to groups. I'm not a go to counseling kind of person.
I'm an introvert.
Yeah, I was raised Jewish, but I don't step foot in synagogues, But this book, you can take it to the privacy of your own level of comfort.
Yeah, I'm actually planning I'm going to do a book group on it. I'm going to see if my friends want to do a book group on it. So let me just read something a little different.
I did want to say one other thing too, because you're talking about the pictures. As an intuitive, I will tell you this is one of the first books I've ever read in my life that is actually a sixth sensory book. When you're triggering your emotions, your visual, you can hear the words. It's actually sixth sensory, and that's why you can open it and read one page and change your life.
I know it. It's incredible. This is one that I think a lot of people relate to. Thank you for trying to make me feel guilty so that I'll never again change my path for someone else's sake. Boom. That's why I'm sitting here on radio. I'm telling you, there was an army of people saying, have you lost your mind, Pat? Have you lost your mind? How much money have you paid for airtime in 13 years in doing this? Are you crazy? Well, guess what? There's a quote for me. Are you ready? Thank you for calling me freak so I can know my differences of my gifts. That's your answer to why I'm doing this. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's why. I mean, how many things do you own in your life that you can pick up and get an answer instantly from? I mean, a lot of people work with card decks and things, which I do too. I love
I do too.
Decks, but I think there is more power in this book for whatever the situation is that may be frustrating me, it seems like I open it and it hits on something consciously or in therapy I would never have thought was the base of a problem.
Yeah. I love what you're saying about this. Now, let's just tell folks, how can they buy a copy of this or several?
Any book.
This is a great book if you're thinking about, man, I know somebody, gratitude. How do they get copies of it? Can you get them on Amazon or what?
Amazon, Barnes & Noble online, any bookstore, any major bookstore or any small bookstore. If they don't have it in stock, we'll order it. But it is available on Amazon online and Barnes & Noble online and in most Barnes & Noble bookstores.
Okay. And Benny, did we give away the third book, or shall I announce that again?
Nope, we're all done. All three given away.
You said we had one more. Let's do another.
So 4 total?
Yeah.
All right.
Let's do one more. We have time. We can do it. We're skipping the break. We're going to do it. 1-800-930-2819 and 1-800-930-2819. Deborah, I want to ask you this question. What is the publisher thinking about your excitement and my excitement right now for this? Are they thinking, what's wrong with us two?
No, the publisher is Bob Friedman. Yeah. He owns the publishing house. He ran Hampton Roads for like 25 years, and he started his own publishing company. And he's always published everything of Richard. He is so tickled that I saw what he saw when he agreed to publish it. And now that you see it, and what I'm doing, the only thing I'm trying to do is stack the dominoes so if we hit the right one, that millions of copies of these books end up all over the world and actually change the consciousness on this planet. I have big dreams.
Yeah.
I don't think small. I don't
either.
And so for me to, I'd mailed 10 copies to the Child Advocacy Center in Washington, D.C. And somebody emailed me and said, why did you send these? I said, did you read the book? And they wrote back and said, no, but we need to know why you sent them. And I wrote back, I said, first you read the book and you will know exactly what to do with them. Yeah. And all I got back about 4 days later was, thank you.
Yeah.
So it's not something that if I was walking through a bookstore, I'm going to pick up and buy.
No.
I gave some to some counselors, and they've already ordered some for their people that work with children of disabilities that have been fostered out.
Oh,
because if people go, oh, this baby's not right, I'll just give it away.
Yeah.
And I think it's you and I are, it's kind of like putting that little tiny snowball at the top of the mountain. And then I just want to let it go and let it turn into this huge thing that's going to absolutely modify the way we perceive abuse.
Yeah.
And how you have to result it. It's not, for me, it's no longer about, oh, well, you if it wasn't for those experiences, you wouldn't be the person you are today. So it's just.
You mean it's not, wait a minute, Deborah. There's a reason for everything, you mean? No, that's not what this book says.
No, it totally doesn't. And I think this can change so many perspectives that it's mind-blowing.
Mm-hmm. I want to read this because this is part of my story. And I actually blew by this the first couple of times I read the book. Now, I don't know if I blew by it or I didn't want it to register. My mom and my family goes crazy when I say this, but my mom was an alcoholic and a drug addict because back in the day, when you wanted to keep women quiet, what you did is you kind of dosed them up. You know what I mean? Yeah. You didn't want them to be too feisty, right? My mom was feisty. She was amazing.
I can't imagine that.
I'm telling you. She taught me about love.
Apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Taught me about love. And so this one was for her. And by the way, the only reason I know this is because my stepmom kept letters that she wrote to my dad. And when my dad died, passed them on. Wow. How could you have two moms like that? So here we go. Thank you for dying of drugs and alcohol. So I could see that self-destroying isn't as cool as you said. Well, you know, I bet there are a lot of people out there that can relate to that one.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, how many times do you hear it that, you know, a child ends up either an alcoholic, drug addict, or even in prison because of their parents? That was their path. And this book shows you it doesn't have to be your path.
Mm-hmm.
There is no predestined thing. You can thank them and get the gift. And one of the things that you're pointing out in this book that I think is so powerful in these little bitty book is that it covers everything from simple neglect to somebody breaking your arm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that struck me in the book, Deborah, was the afterword, he calls it. Mm. And I know we only have a few minutes, and I really do want to talk about this. And here's what he says. I have repeated this quote at least 100 times since I've read this in front of groups of people. It says this. This is the way he starts. He says, forgiveness, a wise friend once said, is giving up all hope of finding a better past. And then he goes on to say, how a single idea, words in the air, can change our lives. I read that. But then he also says something interesting that you said later on. He says, perhaps the title of this book should have been, are you ready? Thank yourself for having the courage to choose parents who gave you the challenges that forced you to find the strength which you used to overcome all the tests you faced and all the ones you'll decide to face on the road ahead.
Isn't that powerful?
Yeah. Yeah. And he ends the book this way. By the kindness of our own spirit, we'll fly tomorrow higher than ever we've flown before. Who is this man?
One of the most incredible authors on the planet that has ever been. His words are music, and the words in this book and the pictures in this book and the inspiration of this book is magic.
Yeah.
You know me, I love magic.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to everything we can do to move and shake people out of their old view of, oh my God, I was abused, to, oh my God, I was abused.
Yeah. And, you know, one of the things, Deborah, I want to ask you, we have a couple of minutes left, is, you know, I know you're actively working to get the word out. What do you want to share with our listeners here, the people watching today? What would you like to say?
To let go of the fear. People don't pick up books like this or don't give them as gifts or don't share them out of some weird fear that maybe somebody isn't ready to admit to something that they did, or it's none of my business what may have happened in their life. And I saw this even with foster parenting of don't talk to them about what's going on in their life. Well, why not? You know, I'm the most directed contact this child has. And give them this book. Sit down with them and read this book. And I don't care if they're 3 years old. They're going to get it on some level. I don't care if they're 80 years old. And understand, if you give this to your parent that you suffered abuse from, you do it in a way of thanking them. I am not accusing you. I am not pointing my finger at you. I am not blaming you. I am thanking you. And this is why. And give them a copy of the book.
Again, thank you, Deborah, for today. How can people get in touch with you, or if they have a group they want to distribute, they're going to probably want to come to you?
The easiest way is to get my information off my website, dancingwordgroup.com. And then it has my phone number and address and email and everything on the website, or get a hold of the publisher directly, which you'll have that information. But I want to hear people's feedback too.
Yeah, me too.
Let me know if you buy a copy of the book. Do you want to join this army of positive, expansion that Pat and I are building here? We need help.
Yep. And you all can email me at info, make it real simple, at drpatshow.com. And we're hoping to put up a website by the time this video is out. We'll probably have a separate website just for this movement. Deborah, thank you. Great show.
Thank you.
Thanks to all of you that called in for the show. We'd have given out more books if we've had time. If you didn't get a book, we have, I think, 2 more to give away. Send me an email, info@thedrpatshow.com. And for those of you out there, you want to get involved, let us know. Thank you for being the blessings that all of you are in the world. You are the best listeners on the planet. Benny, thank you for pushing the right buttons. Justin, thank you for making all of this happen. Jessica, Linda, everybody on the team, you rock.
Lights go out and I can't be saved.
The preceding audio was via a Skype call.